So here are the powers and functions of BOA. So our Board of Accountancy has a broad range of powers and functions. So basically, to implement the provisions of our law, RA 9298. So one is to prescribe and adopt rules and regulations. So that is our IRR, the implementing rules and regulations. So to supervise the registration, licensure, and practice of accountancy. To administer oaths. So when you pass the CPA board examination, before you can eventually practice the profession, so you have to take an oath before authorized government official, no? So which include the BOA. So next, to issue, revoke, or reinstate the certificate of registration for the practice of accountancy. So this is part of the supervision and regulation of the accountancy profession. So to adapt the official seal, so this is the logo of the BOA. So when it is affixed on their issuances, so that shows their authority. So to prescribe and adapt the code of ethics, so that is why we have our code of ethics for professional accountants here in the Philippines. Letter G. So to monitor the conditions affecting the practice of accountancy, so including the standard setting. So the standard, our accounting and auditing standards, no, are approved by the Board of Accountancy. So although there is a separate body who assists the accountancy in carrying out this function. So our standard setting bodies like the FRSC and the AASC. So to conduct oversight into the quality of the audit, so they can conduct quality inspection of different auditing and accounting firms and practitioners. So to investigate violations of the RA 9298. So to that effect, to issue subpoena ad testificandum, so meaning make one appear in a hearing, no? So summon a particular person or persons who is in violation of the RA 9298 or who is called on to participate in an investigation. So to issue subpoena duces tecum, in this case, ask a person or group of persons or office or company to produce documents. So in aid of the investigation being made by the Board of Accountancy. So to make investigation as it deems necessary whether any person has violated RA 9298. So to issue a cease and desist order to any person, association, or partnership in violation of our law, so including our standards. So to punish contempt of the board, so in case a person would not want to participate or answer the summon issued by the Board of Accountancy, so the board also has authority to punish contempt. So to prepare, adapt, issue, or amend the syllabi for the subject for examination, determine and prepare question for the licensure exam, and administer, correct, and release the results. So therefore, the Board of Accountancy also sit as the examiner for the licensure examination for CPAs or LECPA. So which is the board examination to admit to practice of accountancy the candidates of professional accountants here in the Philippines. So to ensure higher educational institution comply with the Commission on Higher Education or CHED. So including the regulation of accounting schools or universities and colleges offering the degree of accountancy. So that's also required. To exercise other powers, to carry out provisions of RA 9298, so part din ng function ng Board of Accountancy. So as you can see, very broad. So yung powers and functions of Board of Accountancy, and there are only 7 of them. So that is why there are different committees and organizations that are established so to help the BOA carry out its broad powers and functions. Like for example, in this case, to monitor the conditions affecting the practice of accounting, including the standard setting. So we have our standard setting bodies, the FRSC and the AASC. So also to conduct the oversight into the quality of audits. So we have the QRC, the Quality Review Committee, and the CARD. So now known as the Quality Assurance Review Office. And finally, to ensure that higher educational institutions comply with the Commission on Higher Education or CHED. So we have the Education Technical Council or ETC. So let's discuss these different committees and council one by one in the following section. So within 90 days from the effectivity of the IRR, the PRC, upon recommendation of the Board of Accountancy, is to create the accounting and auditing standard setting bodies. So before the approval of the IRR to RA 90 to 98, so we used to have the ASC and the ASPC. So ASC being the Accounting Standards Setting the Accounting Standards Council, so which is our accounting standard setting body. We also have ASPC, the Auditing Standards and Practices Council, so which serves as our auditing standard setting body. So they promulgate the accounting standard and the auditing standard at that time. But upon approval of the IRR to RA 90 to 98 upon effectivity, so they were replaced by the FRSC and the AASC, so which serve as our standard setting bodies up to the present day. So we have the Financial Reporting Standards Council, or FRSC, and Auditing and Assurance Standards Council, which is our AASC. So the term of office, so the chairman and the members of the FRSC and AASC are appointed by the PRC, the Professional Regulation Commission, so upon recommendation of the Board of Accountancy in coordination with our APO, or Accredited Professional Organization. So their term is 3 years, renewable, and the members of the existing standard setting bodies, so which are the ASC and ASPC, are not disqualified from being appointed to the new councils, the FRSC and AASC. Now, this is the composition of the FRSC and AASC, so in accordance with the IRR to RA 90 to 98. So take note that this is in accordance with the IRR to RA 90 to 98. So both of the councils have 15 total members, including the chairman. For FRSC, the chairman should be a senior accounting practitioner highlight from any sector of accounting practice. Okay, and there should be representative from the various government agencies like the Board of Accountancy, one representative, the Commission on Audit, one representative, Securities and Exchange Commission, one representative, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, one representative, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, one representative, and one organization of preparers and users of FS, one. So this organization of preparers and users of FS are represented or is represented by the FINEX, no, the Finance Executive Institute of the Philippines. And then the rest, 8 remaining member will come from the Accredited Professional Organization, PICPA, now distributed among the 4 different sectors. So 2 from public practice, 2 from commerce and industry, 2 from the academe, and 2 from the government. Okay? For Auditing and Assurance Standards Council, so the chairman shall be a senior accounting practitioner from public practice sector. Now, unlike in the FRSC, so wherein the chairman can be a practitioner from any sector. So for AASC, so it should be from public practice. And then similar to FRSC, so there are representatives from various government organization or offices. So one from the Board of Accountancy, one from the Commission on Audit, one from the SEC, one from the BSP, but none from the BIR. So that's the difference. So in AASC, there's no representation from the BIR, so which has in FRSC. And then another association of CPAs in public practice, one. So similar to FRSC, there is an organization of preparer and user of FS. And then the rest will come from APO. So because it's one less member representative from the government organization, so the remaining number from the APO shall be 9. No? So 9 members from the Accredited Professional Organization. But this time, it's not equally distributed. So the concentration will be on public practice. So 6 membership from the public practice. So 1 from commerce and industry, 1 from the academe, and 1 from the government. So we have a total of 9 plus this from government offices and Association of CPAs in Public Practice, total 14, plus the chairman, we have 15. So, however, there is already an updated member of AASC. So this was just updated recently, last 2020. So let's move to the next slide. So last 2020, the Board of Accountancy issued the PRC BOA Resolution 22 series of 2020. So updating the membership of the AASC. So this is the original membership as shown in the previous slide. So the chairman will still come from public practice, senior practitioner 1. So the representative from government agencies are retained, particularly Board of Accountancy, Securities and Exchange Commission, BSP, and Commission and Audit. So they were carried forward from the previous AASC membership. But there's an additional now, no? An additional government office, Insurance Commission 1, okay? And then we still have the Association of CPAs in Public Practice, so which is the ACPAP, okay? So 1. And from PICPA, the membership from the public practice was increased, plus 6, add 2, no, from small and medium practitioner. So that is why in this case it became 9. No, actually additional 3 members compared to the previous composition. So because according to the BOA Resolution 22 2020, so there should be additional membership from small and medium-sized practitioner. So now it's 9. So for commerce and history, still 1. And for the academe and education, is still 1. So the representative from government was already removed as far as the PICPA is concerned. Okay, so the total member now is 18. So compared to 15 in the previous structure according to IRR to RA 9298. So this is now the updated membership of the AASC per BOA Resolution 22 series of 2020. So next, another committee or council, we have the QRC or the Quality Review Committee. So who is in charge to conduct quality review on the applicants for registration to practice accountancy. So these are the one who inspect the quality of audit made by different auditing accounting firms, okay, so CPAs in public practice. So they recommend to the board the revocation of COR of CPAs who have not observed the quality control measures prescribed for CPAs in public practice. Okay, but they are replaced by the CARD, the Quality Assurance Review Department. So the QRC per IRR has 1 chairman from the public practice. So members or representative, 1 from BOA, and from APO we have 5. So 2 from public practice, 1 from commerce industry, 1 from academe, and 1 from government. So total of 5 plus the BOA representative 6 plus the chairman, total of 7. So but take note, no, so this is the updated one, BOA Resolution 23-2010. So establishing the Quality Assurance Review or QAR. So it provides the revised rules and regulation for the conduct by the Professional Regulatory Board of Accountancy or BOA of oversight into the quality of audits in the financial statements. So the Quality Assurance Review is defined as a study, appraisal, or review. So done by the Quality Assurance Review Department. So I believe now it's also called Quality Assurance Review Office. So that's just the same. So organized by the board of the quality of the audit of financial statements. So made by different CPAs in public practice through a review of their quality control measures. So instituted by member CPA practitioners engaged in public practice to ascertain their compliance with prescribed professional, ethical, and technical standards of public practice. So like for example, our common question in our mind is that who audit the auditor? So this is one way of checking the quality of work of the auditor. So through this function, no, of the Board of Accountancy. So by performing quality assurance review on the engagements performed by CPAs. So this rule covers all CPAs in public accounting sector. So take note, public accounting sector only. So whether individual, partnership, or firm. And there are categories and classification of practitioner and client for the purposes of the QAR program of the BOA. So for practitioner, we have category A and category B. So category A, this is a registration for CPA practitioners. So handling clients using full PFRS. So usually the big firms, so even the medium size firm who handle big and large clients, publicly listed clients, often are under the category A. So for category B, so this is the registration for CPA practitioners handling clients using PFRS for SMEs. So this one, small and medium-sized practitioners belong to this category. For purposes of classification of clients, so we have public interest entities using the full PFRS, and we have entities using the PFRS for SMEs. So although right now we already have an additional financial reporting framework, so which is the PFRS for small entities. So as for the classification of clients, so we have public interest entities using full PFRS. So these are publicly listed entities. So meaning companies whose securities, whether shares or debt securities, are being sold to the public. So in an organized exchange, no, like the PSE. Also included in this category are other public interest entities, even though they are not listed. Like for example, entities who have sold a class of their securities, for example, in an over-the-counter market. So those companies with asset of at least 50 million and, now take note, and 200 or more shareholders holding at least 100 equity shares in process of filing for listing their securities. So they hold fiduciary capacity for broad class of outsider, like for example, banks and insurance companies and other quasi-banking companies, no? Or companies holding quasi-banking function. So public utility entities and economically significant entities. So they are considered public interest entities using full PFRS, and they can only be audited by category A practitioners. And for entities using PFRS for SMEs, so we have small and medium enterprises, so entities who are not required to file financial statements with the SEC, so entities not in the process of filing for listing their securities for sale, entities not holding secondary licenses issued by regulatory agency. So example of entities holding secondary licenses, so similar to this one, no, like banks and insurance companies and companies exercising quasi-banking function. And finally, entities which are not publicly utility companies. Now, for entities using PFRS for SMEs, they can be audited by either Category A or Category B practitioners. Now, unlike this one, they can only be audited by Category A practitioners. So even if you become a CPA and engage in public practice, it's not uh it's not eh, uh, it's not pala that you can audit, no, all types of client. So there will be limitation. Like in this case, there's a certain category of practitioner who can audit a specific type of client. So like in this case, if you're a category A practitioner, you can audit both. But if you're a category B practitioner, you can only audit so entities using PFRs for SME. So smaller companies only. Next, another council that support BOA in their functions and duties include the ETC, or the Education Technical Council. So if the accounting and auditing standard setting body would be 90 days for ETC within 60 days from the effectivity of the IRR. So the PRC, upon recommendation of the Board of Accountancy, is to create the Education Technical Council. So it consists of 7 members. So one chairman who should be a senior practitioner from the academe. So one representative from BOA and the rest from APO or the PICPA. So in this case, one representative from public practice, one from commerce and industry, two from the academe, and one from the government. Now, the two representatives from the academe shall come or distributed between the public and private schools offering BSA. So, one from public school or state school, university, or college, and another from a private academic institution. Now, the chairman and the member of the ETC shall be appointed by the PRC, so upon recommendation of the Board of Accountancy in coordination with the PICPA or the APO. So term is 3 years, renewable. So functions include determining minimum standard of curriculum for BSA program, so establishing teaching standards including qualifications of members of faculty, so monitoring the progress of the program of accountancy and evaluate academic institutions. Now, in relation with the BOA's role no, and function in monitoring the accountancy program of different schools like colleges and university, so there's this what we call accreditation of accounting teachers, so which is a requirement set forth by BOA in their resolution 88-2008. So providing for the rules and regulations for the accreditation of accounting teachers, which became effective starting June 20, 2008. So meaning to say, if you want to teach in the accountancy program of schools and university, then you have to apply for accreditation with the Board of Accountancy. So what are the requirements? So the requirements include number one, so possession of relevant master's degree. So usually this can include the MBA or Master in Business Administration or Masters in Accountancy. So master's degree is an example of a postgraduate degree. So another is completion of 12 units of relevant education subjects from CHED recognized schools. So meaning to say, as an accountancy teacher, you should not only be proficient in teaching accounting subjects. So you should also know the different theories in education, like for example, classroom management, test construction, item analysis of the examination to determine whether your exam is valid or not. And those skill sets can be obtained by enrolling in education subjects or attending education-related training. So being a good CPA is different from being a good teacher or professor. So that is why aside from our skills no, in accountancy, so we should also be training ourselves with relevant education skill set. Okay? So next, a total of 3-year meaningful experience in actual accounting work, either in public practice, commerce and industry, or government sector. So it's encouraged no, for CPAs before you teach. So you should have some experience in other sector before you go to the academy. And finally, compliance with continuing professional education or CPE program, which is now called CPD, no? So continuing professional development. So the new term for the CPE is CPD. But take note that for requirement number 2 and number 3, they will no longer apply for CPAs who are already teaching as of the effectivity of the resolution. So meaning to say, if you are already teaching by June 20, 2008, so no need to complete the relevant education units and the 3 years of meaningful experience. Okay? But you are still required to comply with the requirement on master's degree and compliance with CPD program. So next, last point about the BOA. So grounds for their suspension and removal. So our Board of Accountancy members and chairman can be suspended or removed, no? When they encounter or they are guilty of these grounds. So first is neglect of duty or incompetence. So second is violation or tolerance of violation of RA 9298, our accountancy law, Code of Ethics and Professional Standards. Take note, final judgment of crimes involving moral turpitude and manipulation or rigging of CPA licensure exam result, disclosure of secret and confidential information in the exam questions prior to exam, or tampering of grades. Okay, but take note, no? So this is also a common question. So who can remove the member or chairman of BOA from their office? Only the president. Again, only the president of the Philippines has the power to remove BOA member or chairman. So because remember, our BOA member or chairman are presidential appointees. So they are appointed by the President of the Philippines. They can only remove also by the President of the Philippines.